What's going on, everybody? What's going on? We're back with another episode of Lloyd, Alford Radio. This is episode 7. Episodes 2 through 6. Every beginning, I've always said, I have somebody special coming on to the show, being a special guest. But episode 7, it pretty much doesn't get more special than this special. Yeah, we can go with that. It doesn't get more special than this. The most important woman in my life is right here sitting beside me. My mother, Marie Alford. Hey, Mom.
Hey, darling.
Thank you so much for spending some time with me today and coming onto the station and talking. It's a really interesting and exciting thing we have going on right now. I just want to say that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and you have a story to tell, most definitely. If those who don't know, my mother is a survivor of breast cancer, and I just want to kind of get into it and kind of, this isn't a sad episode, though. This is a good and happy episode. This
Very
is
happy.
Yeah, and just
Very
being a
happy.
beacon of hope. We're going to kind of just go ahead and get into some things and talk about this. From my point of view, it's interesting, because I can specifically remember the day that you told both me and my brother, Josh, that you were diagnosed with breast cancer. It was surprising, but I don't want to talk too much from my point of view right now. I want to start with you. How did that whole thing come along? Like, how did you realize it? And what happened? Did you go to the doctor? Because I don't know, except the beginning. My beginning is when you told us.
Right.
So how did that happen?
Well, first of all, I want to say how proud I am of you.
Thank you.
For doing this radio show, and I think you're just perfect for it.
Thank you.
Just to say a little bit about me, actually it was last year in October when I went for my mammogram like I normally do. I had been diagnosed like 2 years before this mammogram that I had a lump, a knot, a little something in my right side.
Okay.
So instead of going yearly for my mammograms, I started going every 6 months.
Okay.
And when I went last year this time, they saw something on that same little spot was on my right side, but they saw something on my left side this time.
Okay.
And, when they start taking a long time to do whatever it is and looking at you and you looking at them, something is not quite right.
Right.
So that's what happened. They saw something on my left side, and they wanted to do a little more investigating, so they went to the ultrasound room. I went to the ultrasound room, and then after they really did see something, they said that I needed to have a biopsy done.
Okay.
So
what's that exactly, or what did that mean?
That is when they take a small portion of the mass that they see and send it to the lab so they can see whether it's cancerous or not.
Okay.
And so
when this was going on, so 2 years ago, you were diagnosed?
Well, 2 years ago, they saw a spot on my right side.
Okay.
So every 6 months after that, I had been going on so they could watch that.
Right.
And nothing ever became of that. But last year in October, they saw a mass on my left side.
Okay.
So the biopsy was done on my left side.
Did you feel any different? Were you feeling different?
No,
around those times?
no.
You were feeling perfectly normal?
Perfectly normal. I never felt anything.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And so 2 years ago, did you feel like it could be cancer, or you just...
Well, after going like every 6 months, and the spot hadn't really changed
Right.
any.
Right.
I wasn't worried about that side. I was feeling like, okay, it's just a little something, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just gonna be there. It wasn't getting any bigger, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So that was a good thing.
Right. And I think it was so ironic when I was thinking back on it that all of that took place during the month of breast cancer awareness. You
Right.
know, and
I got my results on October 2nd
wow,
of last
of
year.
2020
Yeah,
during
during the pandemic and
right.
everything else that was going on.
Right. And I like I was saying, from my point of view, I remember that night where you told me and my brother that you had something to tell us and to come in the room, and that you like, we don't ever have to have any news breaking to us like that. So I knew it had to be something, and I knew you probably wasn't about to tell me that we was about to have another brother or sister. So
You know that.
so I was just bracing myself, but and I remember when you first told me though it didn't really hit me. I kind of forced myself to be numb to it at first because it's scary. Like it was scary from my point of view, only because I've seen both sides of it. I've seen people that came out victorious, and I've seen people that the cancer had take them away. And you can't imagine. I was just not able to imagine that. It turning out for the worse, and it turned out greatly the way that I knew it would. But just that being human and having that fear, like just your mama. So it's scary, and I couldn't see Josh, him being 16 and me being 26. I couldn't me being older. I had to make sure I stayed strong for him and everything because I didn't want him to be scared either. But it was interesting. My aunt, your sister, Aunt Shirley, she's also a breast cancer survivor, which
Yes.
is so great. So we kind of went through the same thing. I was scared when she had got diagnosed and just trying to stay updated with her treatments and things like that. How much do you think that she kind of, and all your sisters, all my aunts really, but specifically with her having gone through basically the same exact type of situation, how much do you think that she kind of helped you or had a part to play in?
Oh, very much so. She called me every day, and we talked about it, and she still does call me every day,
Right.
to see how I'm feeling. And I think, it all depends on the individual person,
Right.
what happens with their body and what they go through and how it affects their body. But just knowing that she had gone through the same thing was support for me,
Right.
and that's very important when you are diagnosed and you have support from family, friends, your
Definitely.
church family, everybody
Definitely.
praying for you. That is a big part of you getting through the process.
Right.
And I felt like, I got to get through the process. I ain't
Right.
have no option.
Right.
I had you and Josh and
Carmen,
Wes and
Green.
Carmen and the Grands and
Right.
everybody, So it was just a process that I know I had to be strong and go through. I still couldn't believe it was happening to me.
Right. And I know
But
sometimes, and and you, and it's so funny when things happen in life like that where you know that you try your best to live in the righteous way and do the right thing and be nice to people and live the way God would want us to live. But when things like that happen, did you ever get that point where you did ask, like, why is this happening to me? Why, were you ever just like a moment of truth? Were you ever like frustrated or like upset? Because from my point of view, I didn't really see. You were very strong, like very strong during the whole thing because I didn't really see you, get emotional and break down and stuff. And I think that was a lot of reason I got my strength from you. And it's funny because I feel like you should have been getting your strength from us, you know? So was it ever times during that where you kind of thought, you know, why is this happening to me? Or you just accepted it when it first happened and just let it be what it was?
Well, I don't think I ever asked, why is this happening to me? I don't think I ever asked that question. I had to wrap my mind around the fact that it is happening to
Yeah,
me,
right.
you know. So I just got to go through this, you know. I got to the point sometime where I wanted to. I mean, you know, it really took me a while to wrap it around my mind that it is, and I am going through this, you know. So I just got to go through this. So, with my sister being there for my support and talking to her every day,
Right.
and then I had a cousin that's a radiation nurse
Okay.
that live in Michigan. So I called her right away and got her opinion about everything. The type of cancer that I was diagnosed with was called triple negative.
Okay.
And I said, triple negative, okay, exactly what does that mean,
Right.
you know? So that's an aggressive type cancer. And so she explained that to me, and the doctors did too, but, you know, with it coming from somebody that you know.
Right.
You
You
know,
receive it
you
differently.
yes.
You receive it with more trust.
Yeah, so she explained all of that to me and how it can be aggressive and what other parts of my body it could attack, you know. I said, well, you know, we just got to do this.
Right.
We just got to do it.
Right. And I know my other auntie in Rocky Mount, my Aunt Ernestine, was going with you pretty much to every appointment.
Yes.
And coming from Rocky Mount
Yes.
to just...
Every appointment, she was there. Even if she couldn't go in the back where I was, she waited for me in the waiting room, and she was just there for my support.
Right.
That's very important, you know, that support system that you have.
Right.
And it being doing, you know, because of the pandemic that we are in, and a lot of appointments, you know, you couldn't really have a visitor just
Right.
go in the back with you, but she was there for me through everything, and my surgery and just the whole process.
Right. And I remember, just from my point of view, Dad just telling me that, you know, he told me and Josh, like, the biggest thing that we can do right now is just to make sure that your mom is as little to no stress as possible, you know, because it can affect your health. Like, stress can definitely affect health. I think that happens with a lot of black people. A lot of times, you know, you can get sick. Being sick is almost inevitable. We're human. We get sick. But it's the stress that's added on top of the sickness that intensifies it. You
Very
know,
much so.
from how am I going to pay these medical bills to what's going to happen with the kids. And a lot of times the stress is what takes us on over. It's not
Exactly.
even the disease or the sickness in the first place. And so, in my opinion, you know, even, and things weren't perfect, but as far as just little things like making sacrifices, making sure I could do my part, helping my brother get to basketball and in school and stuff like that. Just things that might be little, but there's still things, daily things that we
Had
could
to
take
be
away,
done.
right, and take away from you worrying about, because you being, you know, how you are. I know that regardless, in the midst of everything that's going on with you, you are still going to be concerned about your children and the people that you cared about. So we just tried to make it into a way where, like, you know, we got this. We got your back, just like, you know, you have our, and continue to have our back. So even, like, if I got in trouble or something, I wouldn't tell you, or, like, you know, wouldn't let you know, because in my opinion, like, I can tell Dad, I can tell, you know, my aunt or something, but I don't want to tell my mom because I don't want any other, like, because if I tell her, she's not gonna not worry, you know. So it was just times like that, I will say. But I think that, well, we'll fast forward a little bit. So it's October, you find out that you're diagnosed. Then how does the process start from there to being able to be here to beat it?
Okay, so everything went quickly.
Okay,
From the
right.
time I was diagnosed, seeing the oncologist, seeing the surgeon, everything just went quickly. And my oncologist suggested that I have chemotherapy first
Okay. Oh, versus what?
versus surgery.
Okay.
Having a surgery first.
Okay.
And so, with me having the chemotherapy first, that was to shrink the mass. And so, after a couple of treatments of that, my body started doing something that was very not normal. And that caused us to have to slow that process down of the chemotherapy. And I had to have another procedure before we could continue that.
Okay.
So my chemotherapy, maybe that lasted a month and a half longer than we really thought it was when I first started.
Right.
So that was not too good.
Right. And I'm
but
not.
we got through it.
I'm not really 100% clear what exactly happens when you're in, like, when you say, I remember you having your appointments, but I never really knew what happened when you would go to chemotherapy. What's that like? What is that like?
It's like I had a port that was put right on my chest, right above my chest, and they would insert a needle in there, and they had these fluids that kind of went through your body.
Right. Okay.
And that was the process of that.
Okay. And was that any of that? Did it hurt at all?
No, it didn't hurt.
Okay.
It didn't hurt. The process did not hurt. I didn't even feel bad afterwards.
Okay.
After my first initial visit, then I was able to drive myself to the rest of them.
Okay.
And when I came back from that, I was able to work.
Right.
I was very fortunate. Well, because of the pandemic, I was working from home 4 days a week. But after I was diagnosed, I was working from home for 5 days a week.
Right. So Monday through Friday, you were still able to work.
Right. And I would leave, my job allowed me to leave for my appointments and then come back and finish working. With the chemotherapy, I didn't feel, I think it affected my body maybe like 2 or 3 days after the process. So
Just
by
like being
then it
tired
was
and
the
stuff.
weekend. Yeah.
Right. So then
So
you was already
rest.
in a position to rest anyway because you didn't have to work.
Right.
Right. So that's interesting how it kind of worked out like that.
Yeah. And that's, kind of how I think a chemotherapy affects people. It doesn't get you like as soon as it goes through your body. It's like 2 or 3 days later.
Right.
When you feel tired or, you might want to lay in the bed all day or
Right.
however.
Now, I know some people that'll, something will happen and they'll get sick, but they don't want anybody to know because they don't want people to treat them different, and they don't want people to get scared. And you see it all the time, like in like black movies where the grandma will just be trying to get everybody together this one more time, but don't want to tell everybody that they're sick. I think Tyler Perry done used that a couple times. Like that's the classic, but it's real.
Yeah,
that type
is.
of thing really happens.
It does.
Why do you think that is? And also, did you ever go through that? Like, why didn't you tell? Because I wonder why you didn't say nothing 2 years ago. When
Well, 2 years ago it was not cancer.
okay,
It was
right.
just a little spot that they saw, that they wanted to watch.
Okay.
So that was nothing for me to tell y'all for you to start worrying
Right.
about.
Right. And then I got you. And then
Mm.
I guess did you ever have a time where you didn't want, the I mean at this point we're on the radio. So, you got a story to tell like I say, but was there a point where you didn't want people to know like that? Because I know that when you told me, I didn't just, go telling everybody. I was having to kind of deal with it myself too, but I told like, my closest friends, and so they were very supportive of me too in helping us to kind of just be strong, stay positive and everything. Just automatically, they're like, Luck and Rod and Pat,
No.
Charles. As soon as I told them, it almost like, didn't even phase them because they're like, she's gonna beat it, bro. Like, and that was that helped me so much just to see them being as hopeful, because it helped me to be even more hopeful too. Only because, like I was saying, I've seen both sides. I could have easily been like, well, my aunt had it and she beat it, so my mom is gonna have it and she's gonna beat it. But I've seen, no instances where people didn't beat it either. And I
Yeah.
don't want to, but I didn't want to broadcast it though. Like, somebody post a picture on Facebook and I comment on the picture, Marie got cancer, call me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, in the most,
Well,
like, oh my goodness, under my picture.
yeah.
But like, and broadcast it for the whole world to know, because I didn't know if you wanted it to be a private thing or not. So was
Well,
there,
I'm a private person,
right,
period.
right,
So, yeah, my closest friends and my family and, a couple of people at work and stuff, they knew about it, but no, I did not broadcast it. That
right,
was nothing that I wanted to just share with everybody,
right,
because,
exactly.
I wanted to share it with the people that was going to pray for me and
Right.
want me to get better. I
Right.
wasn't going to be sharing it with nobody that,
Right,
you know.
because when some people say I'm gonna pray for you, that's the prayer. So, like, and it's just
Yeah.
like, man,
When
oh
you
my,
say you're going to pray for somebody, you better stop right there and
right,
pray.
right, and you gotta also, be mindful of who's praying for you, and
And what they praying.
right, and we live in a world like that, and I guess so continuing with the story. You're going to chemotherapy.
Yeah.
When was your like last session? And it kind of like, because if I'm not mistaken, we beat it this year, right?
Yes.
So when how long were you going to chemo, and then when did things kind of change, or you kind of in your mind feel like, okay, I really am gonna beat this, and it's becoming more real that I'm gonna beat it?
Okay. So, my chemotherapy started in October, the end of October of last year.
Okay.
And we did that up until February.
February. And then
November, December.
what? And I thought it was a time where I thought you were finished, but you had like, was that the last thing that you had to do?
Oh, no. After my chemotherapy, I rest for about a month, and then I had surgery. I had to have surgery to remove whatever was left.
Okay.
And by this time, well, the best part about it is they caught it at the early stage.
Right, that was huge.
So
that was the thing that I always
a good
remember
part.
knowing.
Yeah, it was in the first stage, so the mass was small, and when they shrunk it, it was almost nothing left. But I still had to have surgery,
Right.
and so I had the surgery, and then a month after that, I had to have radiation treatments, and the radiation treatments was to keep it from coming back.
Okay.
So that process was every day I went, 5 days a week I had to go for that. And it only took me 15 or 20 minutes, but I had to go for
Right.
5 days a week.
Right.
And I did that
I
for,
remember you having to go every day.
So I finished that up in April.
In April. So
Yes.
so it was really April when you finished, like, and everything was over, and you had your last appointment, and you were officially cancer free.
Right.
How did that feel?
It felt wonderful, you know. Hallelujah. It felt wonderful, you know. And but the thing with the radiation is that during the process of getting it every day, my body was not changing. I didn't feel anything. It was after my last appointment that I felt the effects of the radiation. And, you know, sometimes I still think I might still have some in my body. And actually, with the chemotherapy, that was the same thing. I lost all my hair started coming out just like they said it would. After having about 3 or 4 treatments, and it's still not back yet. It's still growing back.
Yeah, it's still growing back.
It's growing back, but it's still not back. And the radiation is, I don't think it's still in my body, but you know, I'm still healing. I guess I should say it like that.
Right.
I'm still healing from the surgery as well as the radiation and the chemotherapy, because it caused my feet and my hands to have what they call neuropathy, which is the nerves in my fingertips and my feet. And I feel that. But in all of that, you know, I can still write, I can still walk, so it's not as bad for me as it maybe has been for some people.
Right. And we just, I know and I hope somebody's listening that is finding some strength and some inspiration in your story. And, you know, any women that are out here that are dealing with this, might have just been diagnosed, might be going through any of the steps that you go through. What are some things you would say to them or want them to know?
Well, the first thing I would want them to know is to make sure you get your mammograms on a regular. I think it may be like 50 when they said start getting mammograms. If you
So you're saying regardless of having.
Well, I never felt anything, so.
You would have never known if you would have not gotten a mammogram.
Absolutely.
And that's why some people, it's too late by the time they catch it.
Right.
Right. Okay. So yeah.
So you get your mammograms. If you got a family history of breast cancer, they might start you getting yours in your 40s.
Okay.
So you just do what you got to do on a regular basis.
Right.
Because I never felt anything.
Right.
So, and you know, make sure you get your mammograms. Make sure you do your own breast exams. Know your body, and if you feel anything different, then you get it checked out.
Yeah, and I feel like, you know, having a strong support system.
Yeah.
Having people around you that truly care about your well-being. Maybe broadcasting it to the whole world isn't the best way to kind of let somebody know. Like, make sure you're that's fine. Make sure your circle is really taking care of you, the same ones that you take care of.
Right.
And I don't know, I'm just so happy, you know, that you came up here and talked about it.
I'm so happy you gave me the opportunity.
Yeah, and
to share.
Right, and you know, people, this is the first episode where people might be like, well, you're not talking about nothing about like business. And I'm like, it doesn't matter, because some things are still worth being talked about. It's a story and everything. And I feel like, you know, the fact that you're still here is because God wanted you to, and that you're here for a reason.
And I thank him for it.
I thank him for it too. But like I said, my mama, the most important girl in my life, woman in my life. I really appreciate it. Like I said, you coming down and sharing, having the courage to share that and be as open and transparent about that. And like I said, I hope anybody that's listening can find some real strength and inspiration just in your story and being a survivor. And, you know, with that being said,
if I can beat it, you can beat it.
exactly. I know that's right. And with that being said, y'all tune in this time, same time next week for another episode of Lloyd Alford Radio.
We on a ride, and I feel it.